Shri Rup Sanatan Raghunath, Shri Jiv Go Baladas Raghunath, Shad Goswami Guru Ki Jai. Prabhupada Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath, Shamakan, Radhakan, Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Mathuradam Ki Jai, Vrindavadam Ki Jai, Mayapurdam Ki Jai, Murudam Ki Jai, Jagannathpuridam Ki Jai, Ayodhyadam Ki Jai, ISKCON Ljubljana Ki Jai, Hanuman Ki Jai, Hanuman Ki Jai, Srimad Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Srimad Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Shri Panchatattva Ki Jai, Shri Gauranitai Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande, Gaur Slavas of Radha, Slavas of Radha, Slavas of Radha, Slavas Shri Guru, Shri Grangi.
Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanajari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanajari Yasodhanandana Braja Dhanaranjana Yasodhanandana Braja Dhanaranjana Yamuna Kiha Vanacharya Yamuna Kiha Vanacharya Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanajari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanajari Yasodhanandana Braja Dhanaranjana Yasodhanandana Braja Dhanaranjana Yamuna Kiha Vanacharya Yamuna Kiha Vanacharya Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Brahmadakacharya Asadhara Sadushi Shriman His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Haribo Slava Zarani Bhaktam Slava Shri Guru Shri Gurangi Om Agyanatvanandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutle Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Pradina Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakans Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinavando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishubhanu Sudha Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakapa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patidanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, Prayers by Queen Kunti, Text 33. Apare Vasudevasya Devakyam Yachito Bhyagat Ajas Tvam Yas Asya Shemaya Vadaya Chasura Dvisham Apare Vasudevasya Devakyam Yachito Bhyagat Ajastvam Asya Shemaya Vadaya Chasura Dvisham Apare Vasudevasya Devakyam Yachito Bhyagat Ajasvam Asya Shemaya Vadaya Chasura Dvisham Apare Vasudevasya Devakyam Yachito Bhyagat Ajastvam Asya Shemaya Vadaya Chasura Dvisham. Ladies.
Apare Vasudevasya
Apare Vasudevasya Devakyam Yachito Bhyagat Ajastvam Asya Shemaya Vadaya Chasura Dvisham. Apare Vasudevaya Devakyam Yachito Bhyagat Ajastvam asya shemaya Vadaya Chasuradvisham Apare Vasudevasya Devakyam Yachito Vayat Ajastvam asya shemaya Vadaya Chasuradvisham Apare others Vasudevasya Avasudev Devakyam of Devaki Yachita being prayed for Abhyagat took birth Aja unborn Tvam you are Asya of him Shemaya for the good Vidaya for the purpose of killing Cha and Suradvisham of those who are envious of the demigods. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Others say that since both Vasudeva and Devaki prayed for you, you have taken your birth as their son. Undoubtedly you are unborn, yet you take your birth for their welfare, and to kill those who are envious of the demigods. Purport. It is also said that Vasudeva and Devaki in their previous birth as Sutapa and Prishni underwent a severe type of penance to get the Lord as their son. And as a result of such austerities, the Lord appeared as their son. It is already declared in the Bhagavad Gita that the Lord appears for the welfare of all people of the world and to vanish the asuras or the materialistic atheists. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravani Vacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskatyade Siddharane Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Tadiskritam Dharma Samstapanarataya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. The Krishna, he's quite fixed in what he does. He doesn't come here for a 100-year vacation. He has always the same purpose. And those who want to become followers of Krishna, servants of Krishna, they should understand those purposes, because the more we make that our purpose, then the more we become Krishna conscious. It is not that we should appear in this world and think, yes, it's nice Krishna comes to protect the devotees and annihilate the miscreants and reestablish religious principles, so I think I'll make that a little part of my agenda and add it on to my list. More or less that's what we do at the beginning, but the more we take the other things off our list and the more we focus in on Krishna's agenda, then the more we become empowered by Krishna, not only to distribute Krishna consciousness to others, but also to become Krishna conscious ourselves. Because it's really not possible to distribute Krishna consciousness to others unless we're Krishna conscious ourselves. We can't give something we don't have. And therefore, these reasons, we have to understand them as clearly as possible, how they apply to our lives. Because obviously, we're not going to go out and kill any demons. Because, first of all, we wouldn't last very long. There are too many demons to kill. And besides that, we probably couldn't kill the first demon before they'd kill us. So it would be a waste of time. As far as protecting the devotees, well, we have to protect ourselves first before we can protect anyone else. But we protect the devotees by getting together and chanting Hare Krishna together, hearing about Krishna. That's the way we protect each other. Luckily, things in Kali Yuga have not deteriorated to the point where people are shooting at us on the street or looking at us thinking that we make a good meal because we look. They were thinking they're eating a raw food diet, something sattvic, and we look sattvic. So the things have not gone to such an extent that we have to worry about vanquishing the demons in that sense that Krishna did it, or protecting the devotees in the way that Krishna did it. But we have to reestablish religious principles, so we have to know what they are and set an example, otherwise no one will take us seriously. If we keep on telling people the only thing left in Kali Yuga is truthfulness, and every other word we say is a lie, people will not take us very seriously. So, Prabhupada has given us a process by which we can become Krishna conscious. And it's not only some strange people or eccentric people who live in the temple, they follow this process because they have nothing else to do. So they got to fill their morning up with something, useful, something. So they get up in the morning and they chant and they hear, and then just to fill up, protect ourselves. If we can't protect any other devotee, at least we should protect ourselves. And what we're trying to protect ourselves from is illusion. Because Prahladananda Maharaj said that in this world there's actually no enemy except for the uncontrolled mind. Udarad atmanatmanam atmanam avasarayat atmaiva yatmano bandura atmaiva ripur atmana. A man has to elevate himself by his own mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. So we have to examine with knowledge whether or not we're serving our enemy or we're serving Krishna and our friends. That takes some intelligence. So we have to, also intelligence means we have to accept it. Accepting it means we have to not only hear and think, well, why do these people keep on saying the same thing all the time? I already heard that. I'm not going to accept it. Good luck trying to tell me to accept it. It's just not part of my agenda right now. No, we actually have to hear it and then accepting. So therefore, it is said, Krishneti yasya guritam manasedri, Tanama rupacharatadi sukirtananu smrityo kramena manasi. Start again. Tanama rupacharatadi sukirtananu smrityo kramena rasana manasi niyoja tishtan vrajet anuragi jananugami kalam nayat akilam itipadeshasaram. That the essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time. So, we have to see, that's 24 hours a day, by the way, full time. So we may not be able to do that right now, but if we can add a couple of seconds every day, then that will, in the course of time, add up to 24 hours a day. So we have to try to add a little bit to Krishna consciousness and take things away from our other things that we're doing. That one should hear and chant about the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, and pastimes. In this way, one can do Tannama Rupacharitadu Sukirtananu Smrityo Kramena Rasana Manasi Niyoja. Therefore develop a taste for it. One should hear about, chant about, remember the divine name, form, quality, and pastime of Krishna. Therefore, one should gradually taste within one's tongue. In other words, if we're chanting and it's dry, we should think, well, it's dry, let me do something else. No, that was in the previous verse. Sat Krishna Nama Charitadi Sitapta Vidya Pitopatapta Rasana Manasi Niyoja. Actually, Sat Krishna Nama Charitadi Sitapta Vidya Pitopatapta Rasana Sinirochikanu Chinadared Anudinam Savajushta Swavikrama Bhavati Tadkala Mulahandre. The holy name, form, and quality and pastimes are transcendently sweet like sugar candy. Although the tongue of one afflicted by the jaundice of avidya cannot relish anything sweet, it is wonderful by simply chanting these sweet names every day, a natural relish awakens within the tongue, and one's disease is gradually destroyed at the root. Disease of avidya is gradually destroyed at the root. So we have to understand that's part of our philosophy. It's not that we're supposed to understand all the esoteric parts of our philosophy and the practical parts. No, that's too ordinary. We've gone way beyond Bhagavad Gita. We're into Govinda Lilamrita. We only hear about Krishna's pastimes with the gopis in the bushes. Everything else is too low and insignificant. No, actually, the most important thing for us to recognize is the fact that we're in the middle energy. If you have a terminal disease and you're going to die in 2 months, you probably don't want to figure out, how you're going to go to Hawaii and play tennis there. It's not the time to have fun in Hawaii. It's the time to get a little serious. So right now we're in the external energy and we're suffering from Bhava Roga. We're suffering from a terminal disease. We're going to die. Sorry to bring that up in class. I know. We're all going to die. And in the meantime, our Bhava Roga has different symptoms like old age, disease, and the fact that we've taken birth in the first place. So we have to recognize that, and therefore try to cure that disease. And part of the disease we're aware of, when we chant Hare Krishna, we don't have a taste. It's not like we're overwhelmed with ecstasy when we chant Hare Krishna, and that we can stop chanting Hare Krishna. So that means that we have some disease that's covering our consciousness. And we have to get rid of it by following the process. There's no other way of getting rid of it. You can't find a scrubber and scrub out our material contamination. That's not how things work. But if we realize that there's part of me that's a devotee and part of me that's not a devotee, and that I have to cure my disease of non-devotion by taking the medicine that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has brought to us. Not only the chanting of the holy name, but also becoming more and more serious as time goes on, to making my life spiritual, and whoever I come in contact with, to try to help their life become spiritual also. We may not have the opportunity to go out and save the world. I don't think Krishna expects us to do that. If he expected us to do that, he'd probably do it himself. He doesn't do it either. Whoever he comes in contact with, he helps them become Krishna conscious. He tries, at least. So he's in so many people's hearts, and if he can't convince them to chant the holy name and surrender to himself, then what will our poor little selves do? Of course, in one sense, we can assist Krishna. We can become empowered by Krishna, and therefore, in one sense, do more than he can, because he's neutral. He doesn't want to force anyone. But the devotees are more kind than Krishna. They can at least try to help people become Krishna conscious. Even though Krishna is sitting there and says, all right, when you turn to me, I'll reciprocate. He does that with us too. All right, you don't like me, you don't want me, you don't want to become Krishna conscious. All right, whatever you want, I'll give you the intelligence for. So Krishna is even more happy when someone comes along and tells people, you're in Maya, chant Hare Krishna. Krishna is even more happy when there's, of course, if we tell people that they're in Maya, that they should chant Hare Krishna, and they get upset, and they say, well, you're in Maya. Well, we don't want to encourage people to make offenses either. We like people to voluntarily take up the process of Krishna consciousness. So we give them some prasadam, and we go out and chant in the streets, Hare Krishna. And if people don't cover their ears, then they may get some benefit. They don't run away. Oh my God, the Hare Krishnas are coming. Let me run. They're going to infect me with the Hare Krishna mantra. No, we should try to help people the best way we can, and most people will not immediately accept our philosophy. They won't surrender to us, as they won't surrender to Krishna. We're nothing compared to Krishna. And if Krishna came, they wouldn't surrender to him. So why should we be so disturbed if someone doesn't surrender to us? Who are we compared to Krishna? Therefore, we have to be a little tolerant and then pray to Krishna for the intelligence. And what is that intelligence? If we're Krishna conscious, then Krishna can give us the intelligence. And if we're Krishna conscious, even with that intelligence, it's not sufficient. The intelligence is so that we're actually conscious of Krishna. And that our being conscious of Krishna will actually infect others with consciousness of Krishna, to one degree or another, how much they're receptive. It's not that everyone who came in contact with Srila Prabhupada immediately became Krishna conscious. As a matter of fact, familiarity sometimes breeds contempt. Every day we have the opportunity to see the deities. Someone from the outside, they come and they say, wow, what a wonderful atmosphere is here. It's amazing. You know, the deities are so beautiful. And we come in and say, oh, there they go. Yeah, sure. Same old thing, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So familiarity sometimes breeds contempt. We don't realize what a fantastic opportunity we have to associate with Krishna in the form of his deity, to chant Hare Krishna, etc. And therefore, because of that, we're not anxious to take advantage of it. Even Krishna, as I said, when he comes to this world, he shows us how anxious he is to reunite with his devotees. Even Krishna is anxious to engage in his pastimes. He doesn't sit around and say, yeah, I'm God, I'm completely perfect, I'm completely satisfied with myself. I'll put on a show of becoming Krishna, with my devotees, because, who knows, maybe I'll need some help eventually in the spiritual world. So, no, Krishna is more anxious, as Prabhupada used to say, that we go back with him, go back to Godhead doesn't mean Krishna is just anxious to rent out some Chintamani apartments there. That we go back to Godhead and become tenants of his Chintamani apartments. Now he's anxious that we revive our loving relationship with him, so that he can engage in a loving relation with us. Now he's serving us. In one sense, we're serving his illusory energy, but it's not satisfying to him and it's not satisfying to us. So he wants a satisfying relationship. Otherwise, if you got a relationship with someone eternally, you might as well make it satisfying. Might as well make it loving, something productive. So actually we have a relation with Krishna eternally, and we have a relation with all living entities eternally. So we might as well make it productive. We might as well make it positive for our own life, that our relationship with others becomes loving and happy. Why having a loving relationship with one or two people, or ultimately with just our dog? Oh, Fifi, you're so beautiful. Why not expand that love not only to Fifi, but to all living entities? Why should we be so kripana? The loving service that we can give to others and help them, because whenever we come in contact with someone, we have a choice. Either put them in, help them become Krishna conscious, or by our association, bring them down to whatever mode of nature we're in. So why should we be kripaners? We have the most valuable knowledge, the most valuable activities. Why not try to distribute it to others? Then we become a brahmana. So that's why Krishna comes, that's why Krishna shows the example, to help us understand what our purpose of this existence is, what it should be, and we should understand that we're subject to the illusory energy. Therefore, we're not going to clear away all our anarthas all at once, but we should at least be aware of at least one of them. Today, this week, this month, I'm going to work on this anartha, try to get rid of it, try to make some progress, so that gradually, my coverings are taken away, and more Krishna comes more and more into focus in our heart. The holy name becomes more and more clear when we're hearing it, we can feel his presence, and gradually the form of Krishna appears within our heart, the form of Krishna's devotees, the feelings that they have, we're experiencing a little bit more, and then we're more or less more consistently. Ecstasy isn't like once a year on my birthday, Krishna gives me a little ecstasy as a present. No, gradually we should see that actually I'm happier and happier in Krishna consciousness. Although I may go up and down like a yo-yo, at least I'm going up sometimes. Otherwise, in the illusory energy, when we're under the illusory energy, we think the whole world is full of illusion. And when we're in Krishna consciousness, we think, why isn't everyone else Krishna conscious like me? It's so easy. Therefore, we have to be a little tolerant of our minds and not take illusion for granted, as Krishna says. What does he say? What's the first word of that verse? So this is from the 14th chapter, when Arjuna asks, what are the symptoms of a self-realized person? And he says he doesn't hate illumination when it's present. So illumination is something about Jyoti, but this is not the... Sri Bhagavan Vacha, Prakasham cha pravritim cha, Moham eva cha pandava, Nedveshti sampravritani, Inivritani kangshati, Udasinadvat asino, Gunanya vavichalyate, Gunavartanti ityevam, Yovatishati nengate, Samaduka sakasvasta, Samalastrasma kangshana, Tulya priya priyo dhiras, Tulya matrari pakshayo, Savarava prityagi, Gunakti taksa uchate. One who does not prakasham, that's illumination, prakasham cha, nivritim cha, moham eva cha. One who does not hate it, moham eva cha bandhava. Prakasham cha, nivritim cha, moham eva cha panda, nidveshti samparitani, ninivritani kangshite. One who doesn't hate illumination when it appears, or attachment or delusion when it appears, nor longs for when I was absent, whose prakasham cham ritim cham aham eva chabandava, edveshti sampraritani ninivritani kangshiti, udasinadvat asinam, who's neutral, unaffected. In other words, it's a fact that we may be sometimes illuminated, and then we think, oh, I know everything. I've reached the goal. I'm indestructible. I figured it all out. It's like when you go on book distribution, suddenly you're enlivened and everyone's taking a book and you think, now I have figured Sankirtan out. Now I've figured out how to distribute books. I put my finger out and say, excuse me, and they stop immediately at my feet. I think, wow, I'm empowered. I'm a Shaktavesh. And as soon as we think like that, excuse me, hey, get lost. Get out of my face. Who do you think you are anyhow? I'm your savior. I'm the Shaktivation avatar. I came here to save you. At least you should give a donation for my effort. Who do you think you are? You're a fallen demon and I'm your savior. Can't you see me? Get a job. Do something practical. No, we have to see when there's illumination, we have to, oh, Krishna is so merciful to me. He's giving me this opportunity. I should try to hold on to it, try to be humble, not to get proud, not to think I'm the doer. Oh, this illusion is coming to me now. Because then we're, oh my God. Why is Krishna so unkind to me? And then ultimately, so we become humble again. Oh, I'm a rascal, that's why. I mean, this is Krishna's pastimes. Even Vallabhacharya, a great devotee who wrote his own commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, he was becoming proud in the association of devotees. And therefore the devotees kept on being sarcastic with him and telling him to go to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, Vallabhacharya said that, why are you chanting Hare Krishna all the time? Don't you realize that a chaste wife doesn't chant the name of her husband? Why are you doing this? Krishna is considered the husband of all living entities, and why are you chanting his name? So go to Krishna and ask him, or go to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and ask him your question. So he went to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and said, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna is the husband of everyone. In the Vedic culture, the wife doesn't chant the name of her husband, his name. Why are you all chanting Hare Krishna? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that anyone who doesn't, accept Krishna, oh, that was a different thing. He was asking about Sridhar Swami, the original commentator. That thing about Krishna, he said, actually I've written a commentary that tells you all about the different names of Krishna. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, well, I don't really have to read your commentary, because all I know is two names of Krishna, Jasodanandana and Shyamasundar. Otherwise I don't know any other name of Krishna. That's enough for me. And then he said, well, I've written a commentary another day, even better than Sridhar Swami's commentary. That Sridhar Swami, he was commentating according to his time, place, and audience so many hundreds of years ago. But I've written a better commentary. So they always said, well, tell that to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So they went to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and said, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I've written a commentary better than Sridhar Swami. Sridhar Swami's the original commentator on the Srimad Bhagavatam. You're supposed to respect the previous commentators, not try to surpass them. You can be an instrument for them, try to assist them, but to think of yourself better than the previous commentators is a big aparad, a big offense. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled at Vallabhacharya, who's a great devotee, great personality, and said, in my opinion, anyone who doesn't respect the Swami, meaning Sridhar Swami, I think is a prostitute. In other words, if you don't respect your husband, you're a prostitute. And if you don't respect the original commentator on the Srimad Bhagavatam, then you're also a prostitute in his estimation. So everyone kind of laughed and didn't want to associate with Vallabhacharya anymore, except for Gadadhar Pandit, because he was forced to. So and then, every time he went to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he'd get defeated. So after a while, he realized Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so kind to me when I was with him in Mayapur, but now every time he's defeating me, making me look like a fool. So what's going on? So then he realized that actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was being kind to me, just like Krishna was very kind to the fool Indra when he was trying to destroy Vrindavan, and he embarrassed him. made him look like a fool, so that he could take away his pride. So we think pride, that's a very important part of me, my self-esteem. No one's going to take that away. Anyone who touches my false ego, I'm going to, even though I can't do anything, touch. Go away, you rascal. Curses to you. May your nose fall off in the next 3 weeks. No, that's not the most important thing that we have to defend, is our false ego, which obviously we have to be a little self-esteem, but we should understand who our real self is the soul, and see opportunities to make spiritual advancement by tolerance. Krishna didn't say you're not this body, so do whatever you want because it's not going to affect you. No, he said you have to learn tolerance. And the most important thing to tolerate is our mind, is our material misconceptions. We all have to tolerate that. That's our progress. Then we might learn something what it means to be humble. Humble means, now humble isn't tested. We come, we fold our hands, oh, great sage, I respect you, I love you, etc. And then the great sage says, you're a rascal. We go, whoa, you're not a great sage anymore. You call me a rascal, well, I got a few words for you too. Who do you think you are? Telling a great sage like me, I just folded my hands, for your entertainment, to show you how humble I am, how advanced I am. And now you're calling me, rascal. You're a rascal! Offending a devotee. I'm a devotee. Look at my dress. Look at my sari. Look, I'm a devotee. And you offended me. You just fell down. You just fell down. At least in my estimation. So this is Maya's trick. Everyone else should become humble, and then I'll become humble afterwards. No, Krishna says tolerance. We have to learn tolerance, and especially tolerating our material conceptions of life, what's going on. That's the most important. If we don't tolerate, if we don't recognize what our misconceptions are, if we don't understand how we're being befooled by the illusory energy, then how can we tolerate? If we think this is perfectly normal, this is my duty, then how are we going to tolerate our material misconception? How are we going to tolerate our minds and our feelings if we actually think this is actually important? This is part of my existence. This is what I've come to the material world for, to cultivate these feelings of material misconceptions, based on material misconceptions. Then there's a possibility of accepting what Krishna is coming to do, tolerating. He's come to vanquish our misconceptions by giving us transcendental knowledge. So if we accept that, that's what I was saying in those verses. First thing is Shravana Dasa, hearing, but the idea is eventually Varna Dasa, the stage of accepting. So we hear and hear and hear, we're patiently hearing, then we understand, then one day, all right, I'll accept it. It's true, and I'll try to follow it to the best of my ability. I may not be able to. Material nature is very strong, but at least I'll try. I'll make a little effort to tolerate my mind, and then Krishna will reciprocate. Then he'll help us, and then Krishna's purpose will be fulfilled in coming to this world to vanquish at least Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't come to kill people. He came to vanquish their misconceptions by offering them the opportunity to chant Hare Krishna and engage in the process of the Sankirtan movement, which includes giving others Krishna consciousness too, establishing a spiritual relationship with whoever we meet by becoming their servant. If we had to wait till everyone became our servant before we became their servant, we wouldn't make any progress, nor would anyone else. If you went on the street and you said, well, let me see if I can find someone who's chanting 16 rounds out here before I give them a book. Excuse me, sir, do you chant Hare Krishna? And they go, yeah, I chant a couple of. Do you follow 4 of the principles? I follow 3, sorry, you're disqualified. You know what the 4 regular principles are? Well, I'll tell you what they are. You know, no meat, fish or eggs, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling, etc., etc. Oh, I follow 4. Well, you got to follow the other one, and I'll give you a book next time I see you. Okay? Okay. The Sankirtan movement would progress very, very slowly. Our opportunities to become Krishna conscious would be very, very slow. If every devotee we met, we looked at their face and said, they don't look like they're very happy. You know, they're not in. They look like they're in Maya. So maybe I step away, find someone out here who can actually appreciate me. Then I'll relate to them. We have kirtan, we look around. These people don't look like they're very Krishna conscious. Maybe we should go and chant my rounds. No, we have to see it's an opportunity to help myself, and if I help myself, then I'll be able to help others too. If we think everyone's constitutional position, including my own, is to be in Maya, then we're wrong. Everyone's constitutional position is to be loving, and if we want others to be loving to us, then the best way we can do that is to be loving to them. That way we can actually, so that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving us an opportunity, to get rid of our illusions that are making us not loving to others, and to become loving to others, and then they'll reciprocate with us. And if they don't, that's all right. But at least we're doing the right thing. At least we're coming to the perfection of life, and others will be able to help. But we don't know how much it's helping others. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and spread Krishna consciousness, and we've taken birth here, not simply out of accident. We fell into the Hare Krishna movement by accident, but because in previous lifetimes we got the association of devotees, and perhaps even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he affected our hearts. And so now we're continuing on with our process to become Krishna conscious, and gradually those who are affecting our hearts in a positive way, eventually will, as we become purified in this lifetime and subsequent lifetimes, one day our Krishna consciousness will be fully awakened again. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission will be fulfilled for us. Our demons will be vanquished. Will be reestablished in real religious principles, and we'll be able to serve the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by serving his devotees in the most best way possible. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
Haribol. In beginning, you're talking about protecting others and yourself. You say especially you must first protect yourself. How can I protect myself? What do you mean with this?
Well, Vasudeva asked the same question. So I can give the answer that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave him. You don't think there could be a better answer. Vasudeva was a leper, and he had leprosy all over his body, but he was a devotee. So whenever he was so nice, when you have leprosy, the worms, they eat holes into your body. So sometimes in his body, the worms would fall out of the holes. So he'd pick up the worm and put it back into the hole in his body. Because everyone has their food, so he was very merciful, even to the worms. And one day, we don't imitate such things. We leave it to the great devotees to do these things. So one day, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was visiting the place where he was staying, but he had left at that time. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was on his journey to South India, and he came to the place that he was staying at, and then he heard Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was just there. So he became so overwhelmed with became so distraught, so much unhappiness that he fainted out of ecstasy, that he had a separation from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rushed to the place where he was. Krishna reciprocates with his devotees, and picked him up and embraced him. And he came to consciousness again, And his separation from Krishna, from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was mitigated, along with his disease of leprosy went away. And they had a beautiful golden body. And he became a little in anxiety. He said, before I was suffering, of course, having leprosy, but I was always taking shelter of you. Now I have this beautiful body, and what am I going to do? Maybe I'll be going to become proud. What should I do? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, just keep on chanting Hare Krishna all the time. And Krishna will help you. So that's we chant Hare Krishna, and as much as possible, 16 rounds is the beginning, and we can chant during the day too, not only on our japa beats, wherever we are. And especially if we feel ourselves, whatever we're slipping, then chant Hare Krishna, and Krishna will bring us back again. Anything else? Yes.
Thank you so much. I would have 2 questions. The first one is related to Vasudeva and Devaki, that they did severe penitence and austerities to get the Lord as their son. So we are told that the best thing to do is to get out of this material world, yet we see such elevated personalities that they did not pray for that, and they did not do austerities for that they did austerities to get the Lord as their son. How do we understand this?
Well, if you did austerities and you got the Lord as your son, would you complain?
No, I wouldn't, but I understand that that was the purpose. I mean, it's not that they did austerities and that was the result and they didn't know what the result would be. They did austerities with that purpose.
Well, because they're in Vatsalya Ras, eternally. If you're in Vatsalya Ras eternally, then your goal is to get Krishna as your son. As far as asking for liberation, Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagiri Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmanishvare Bhavatad Bhakti Haituki Twayi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, he didn't pray for followers or wealth or beautiful women. He claimed he didn't even want liberation. He only wanted causeless devotional service for Krishna, even life after life. So that's normal for devotees to think like that. That I'm become self-realized, I want to serve Krishna, so let me serve Krishna as his parents in this world, because that will help his pastimes. That will help others get liberated by showing with the example of Vatsalya Rasa.
And praying for a certain service, is that just for this kind of elevated devotees, or it's for us also?
No one's going to stop you from praying for a certain service.
No, but is it
the
recommended?
mind police will come and say, well, I'll just see.
Is it recommended? I mean, not that somebody would stop me.
No, we can have our service to Krishna that we like, that we can pray for. And if Krishna wants, he'll give it to us. But not that we pray, I only want to eat prasadam. And someone says, can you clean this plate? And you go, no, that's not what I'm praying for. And we have to be a little flexible. I mean, we pray for something, Krishna will give that to us, but we have to be a little aware that Krishna knows what we need. Just like an example is Sudama Vipra. Sudama Vipra was Krishna's class friend. So he didn't really want anything. Only his wife, he was very poor, he was a real Brahmin, he didn't want anything. And he's completely happy in his service to Krishna. But his wife said, well, we're shaking because we're hungry all the time. It's not very good, we're not, for the neighbors are wondering, what kind of service is your husband doing to you? You probably have no clothes on your body, you're like as thin as a rail. So, please go to Dwarka. Krishna is in Dwarka now, he's your best friend. He'll give you something at least, something to eat. At least, you'll get one day we'll get some good food. So at least go to Dwarka. So he said, all right, I'll go. And she gave him some chip rice. And of course, as we know, Krishna knew the mentality of Sudama. They discussed their childhood pastimes. He was in ecstasy. He was in the spiritual world. Everything was fantastic. And Krishna snatched the chip rice from his sack. He was hiding it, and ate some. And the goddess of fortune came up and said, don't eat any more. This raw chip rice is not really suitable for you. And if you eat anything, take another bite of this chip rice, and I won't be able to repay this Brahmin. I'll become his servant life after life. So please, give me a break. So Sudama left, and he thought, well, Krishna didn't give me anything. Because, I'm just a pretender Brahmin, and I don't really deserve anything. I'm just a Brahmin Bandhu. Krishna is so kind to the Brahmins that he even accepted me as a Brahmin and treated me as if I was his best friend. He's so kind, Krishna. So he went back home. He wasn't expecting anything, but then he found out that Krishna had turned his house into a place which was more opulent than the king of heaven. His wife had become more beautiful than the goddess of fortune, and he had servants who were just like heavenly demigods. So he accepted it. He didn't expect it. It wasn't exactly what he was praying for, but he got it. He didn't want it, actually, in one sense. But he realized, now I have to learn how to utilize opulence in Krishna's service too. Not only renunciation, but also opulence. So Krishna arranged that for him. So we may pray for something, Krishna may give it to us. He may not give it to us, but he may give us something we don't want, but it may be good for us. Because whatever Krishna gives to us is good for us. We may not like it, but it may be good for us. But generally speaking, we pray, my dear Krishna, I really want to go out and distribute some books. I really want to. Then someone one day will put a book in your hand and say, well, why don't you go out and distribute it? Some arrangement will be made. Or Harinam, whatever it is. Is that right?
Yeah, thank you. The second, do we have time for the second? It's a bit late. Maybe I save it for tomorrow.
Is it in relationship to the verse?
Yes, it's in relationship also with the question that Mataji asked about protecting ourselves. And I wanted to ask that sometimes we decide to save ourselves and protect ourselves by getting out of a toxic environment. And we are considered selfish. How to deal with this?
Who considers you selfish?
The other ones who remain in the toxic environment or the ones who create it.
I know that's hard to say. That's what we perceive, and we think it's good for us, because there are Krishneti yasa giritam manasedriyaita. You know that verse?
No.
Dikshasti tet pranitibis chabhajantam isham. Shushu shaya chabhajanam ananya anya nidanti sunuridayam ipsita sangalabdya. One should mentally honor the devotees who chant the holy name. One should serve the devotees who are engaged in devotional service, initiated, and who worship the deities. One should faithfully serve that pure, unalloyed devotee who's advanced in devotional service and his heart is devoid of the propensity to criticize others. So we do have intelligence, and Krishna wants us to utilize it to discern from our estimation devotees what level of devotional attainment they're on and reciprocate in loving exchanges with them accordingly. So if we think someone is toxic for me, but I don't want to associate with them, but at least I should respect them in the mind as they're chanting Hare Krishna. But I may not want to associate with them directly. It may not be good for them, it may not be good for me. So we have to use our discrimination. Not only what other people's estimation is, but what our personal estimation is. Because no one, except for Krishna who's in our heart, knows how we're feeling, what we're experiencing. So we have to judge for ourselves what will help our advancement and what won't help. But we just have to be careful that everyone we look at doesn't look toxic to us. That won't be very good. But anyhow, some people will be toxic for us. And we should respect within their mind, but not associate with them very intimately.
This verse from Nectar of Instruction, should we give it as an argument, or is better not to say anything? And
well, if you're trying to avoid them associating with them intimately, then you shouldn't argue with them. That's also intimate association. You don't you don't go on the street and start arguing with people, do you? Hopefully not. Person walks by, hey, you.
No, but other, maybe, for example, you want to disassociate with some, and others ask you why you're not coming anymore. And you're friends with them, but you
just say, I'm not qualified to associate with these devotees. No one's going to argue, well, you are qualified. No, I'm a rascal. Then it's a very nice argument. Okay, anything else? Thank you. Well, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande.